speed at this altitude. Your ticket is punched.
The stars are in sight.
Everyone comes to play on Monday night.
Hit it.
Come on and hit it. Uh-oh. Come on and get ready. Oh,
Are you ready for some football?
a Monday night party.
It's a nationwide tour.
So let's get it started.
Players at the ready.
Alan John on the mic. All
All
right.
my rowdy friends are here for Monday night.
On this first night of autumn, the weather is just perfect. It is 72 degrees in Denver, Colorado, and more than 75,000 people will fill Invesco Field at Mile High for a battle between Denver and Oakland. And out onto the field right now come the Denver Broncos. They'll take on the Raiders and last year's league MVP, Rich Gannon, on Monday Night Football. Al Michaels, John Madden, Lisa Guerrero. Welcome to Denver. It's the 14th Monday night meeting between these two teams, and there have been a lot of classics. What will tonight bring? The Raiders come in with a record of 1-1. They were routed in the Super Bowl. They had a terrible preseason for what that's worth. Then they opened up the year with 17 penalties and a loss to Tennessee. And last Sunday escaped with a harrowing 3-point win over the Cincinnati Bengals. A big early season game for the Raiders tonight. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos began the year with 2 road wins at Cincinnati and San Diego with new quarterback Jake Plummer, who is okay, separated his shoulder last week, but he'll get the start tonight. And as far as the home advantage is concerned, nobody's had a bigger home field advantage through the years than the Broncos. So already 2-0 on the road. They begin their home schedule tonight. And John, this team amazingly has only been to the playoffs once in 4 years. Are they ready to once again ascend to that elite level?
You know, I think the question is still Jake Plummer. It's kind of life after John Elway, and Mike Shanahan hasn't gotten that quarterback to really run the offense that he wants. And now, is it Jake Plummer? I think the jury's still out on him. He's an inaccurate passer. He does throw interceptions, but he's an exciting guy. And then, as you said, with the injury, last week he had the shoulder separation. He made all the throws in practice. I saw him. He looked good. But the question mark is, can he take a hit? What's going to happen after he gets hit tonight?
Now, what about the Raiders? Is this still a hangover from January 26th?
I think a big hangover. I don't think that they recovered. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl, and they got embarrassed in the Super Bowl. I think their whole offseason, they thought about that. They didn't have a good preseason. But having said that, I remember coming in here last year, and the Raiders they had lost 4 in a row, and Rich Gannon was down, and everyone was down, and said, "Can the Raiders?" And this guy had one of the biggest nights I've ever seen by a quarterback.
At one point, he completed 21 in a row, and they went on to the Super Bowl. Turned their season around on November 11th. But what about tonight? The Raiders and the Broncos on Monday Night Football. Here are the FedEx ground stats for tonight's matchup. Jerry Rice in '94 set the all-time NFL record for touchdowns. Then last year, at the age of 40, he scored his 200th on Monday Night Football. He's in action tonight. The Raiders against the Denver Broncos. And tonight, throughout the NFL season, Monday Night Football is proud to bring you the unique and riveting views from Skycam. Skycam presented by Visa.
Presentation of the National Football League.
Invesco Field at Mile High, 3rd year for this stadium. Beautiful stadium, and tonight's game, like all Monday night games, available on HD TV. And a man who has spent his entire career in high definition is the great Jerry Rice, who's with Lisa Guerrero. Lisa.
Thanks very much, Al. Last year, the Raiders had the #1 offense in the league. We haven't seen that kind of production on offense so far this year. I know you were very vocal about your disappointment with the offense this past week. What is the key to turning things around tonight, Jerry?
I think just playing loose football, and we worked hard this past week, and I think this team is ready. You know, we started off with a little adversity last year. We fought through it. We're going to do the same thing. This is Monday Night Football, so you better bring your best game.
Jerry, you mentioned it. This is your 42nd appearance on Monday Night Football. This is a huge game. You're 40 years old, but do you still get chills when you enter into a big game like this?
I am so excited, and I love Monday Night Football, and you know, it brings out my best, and I'm just going to go out here tonight and just try to play hard and try to help my team to win.
Jerry, good luck to you tonight. Thanks for your time. Al, Jerry Rice is 28-13 on Monday Night Football. As a matter of fact, his very first appearance on Monday Night Football, 1985, right here in Denver.
Right here in Denver, he was the #1 choice out of Mississippi Valley State as Micah Noor gets ready to kick off for the Denver Broncos. And Ronnie Jenkins, who came over from San Diego as a run-back specialist, gets set to return the kick. Mike Shanahan, who coached the Raiders in '88 and then in 4 games in '89 before he was fired and replaced by Art Shell. Mike's been here now since '95. Has had a lot of success against the Raiders, but not last year when Oakland swept the series. So here we go with the flashballs popping, and in the mile-high air, the kick is fielded by Ronnie Jenkins 2 yards into the end zone. Up past the 20, there's a flag down, and another one now at the 27-yard line as Willie Middlebrooks makes the tackle. Larry Nemmers is the referee, and the call will go against Oakland. So they'll be backed up, and on 1st and 10, let's take a look at the Raider offense.
Number 58.
Rich Gannon, Delaware.
Charlie Garner, the Untouchables, UT forever. Zach Crockett, Florida State.
Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley State.
Tim Brown, University of Notre Dame. Doug Jolly, Brigham Young.
Barry Sims, Utah.
Frank Middleton, Beaumont, Texas.
Matt Stinchcomb, Georgia.
Mo Collin, University of Florida.
Lincoln Kennedy, Washington.
Garner's untouchable UT is the University of Tennessee. And they may need him to have a big night tonight to give themselves the best chance to win. As Gannon gets sacked on 1st down. Coming in around the corner was Bertrand Berry.
You know, that's one of the things the Raiders have had trouble with, and Rich Gannon has had trouble with. It happened to him in the Super Bowl. It happened to him in the Tennessee game. It happened last week in the Cincinnati game, getting a big hit early. Here comes Bertrand Berry right across the corner. You can see him get up the field, and then he comes to the inside. He's right on Rich Gannon. That has happened as far as you take, like I said, the Super Bowl, and then the Tennessee, and then the Cincinnati. In this game, it's happened in their last 4 big games.
John, in fact, in last week's game, he was hit in the back and had back spasms for most of the first period, and the first pass that he throws is incomplete. Doug Jolly, the intended receiver. 3rd and 16. Let's take a look at the Bronco defense.
Trevor Bryce, Clemson.
Monsanto Pope, Virginia.
Darius Holland, Colorado. Bertrand Berry, Notre Dame.
John Mobley, Kutztown.
Al Wilson, Tennessee.
Ian Gold, Wolverines. Lenny Walsh, Boston College.
Noah Kennedy, Arkansas.
Sam Brandon, UNLV.
Delta O'Neal, Cal Berkeley.
Now Gannon on 3rd down and 16 from the 9-yard line. 4-man rush. They keep it on the ground, and here's Garner cutting it back, and he gets up only to the 15-yard line. So 4th and long. Wilson and O'Neal make the tackle, and so the Raiders begin the game with a penalty, take a sack, 3 and out.
Okay, the Broncos started their defensive end, Trevor Price, inside. And they have Reggie Hayward and Bertrand Berry at the defensive end. So that's a different look, you know, to try and get some strength inside. 1 for the pass rush on Gannon, and 2, the inside run.
Shane Leckler off to a great start this season. This is a booming kick fielded by O'Neal from the 23. He brings it back out to the 40-yard line. And let's take a look at the Denver offense.
Jake Plummer, Arizona State.
Clint Porters, Miami.
Mike Anderson, Utah. Rod Smith, Missouri Southern State College.
Ed McCaffrey, Stanford.
Shannon Sharp, the Savannah State.
Ephraim Salam, San Diego State University. Got Ben Hamilton, Minnesota. Tommy Nalen from Boston College. Danny Neal, Texas. Matt Lepsis, Colorado.
So they leave it to Salam. He's the spokesman because none of the other guys talk to the media or do things like that. So Salam even put the Boston accent in there for Boston College beautifully from 1st and 10 from the 40-yard line, and they start with an end around. Ashley Lilly up past the 45 to to the 48. And like Mike Shanahan in the past, he likes to start with an unusual play from the back of the playbook as we take a look at the Raider defense right now. And they have inactivated Dana Stubblefield. So it's Brayton, the rookie from Colorado, Perella, Rod Coleman, and DeLawrence Grant, with Coleman starting for Stubblefield. Barton, Harris had a great rookie year, and Romanowski, of course, the former Bronco. And then in the secondary, it's Buchanan and Charles Woodson outside, and Rod Woodson and Derek Gibson as the safeties. Rod Woodson was questionable coming into tonight's game, worked out before the game, and is starting. Had arthroscopic knee surgery a couple of weeks ago. And here is Clinton Portis, the bright young star, had a fabulous rookie year and off to a great year this year.
Yeah, we can talk about Jake Plummer and how important he is to this offense, but this is the guy that makes it go. Clinton Portis is something special. And you're going to see him here, and he can take that thing and make 3 or 4 cuts on every play. He takes it inside. Then when he gets to the second level, he makes his next cut. This guy is an amazing running back. And there's an amazing woman, his mother.
Took her to his high school prom, 13-yard game. He's off to a tremendous start this year in 1.5 games because he had a bruised sternum last week and missed the second half, and showing no ill effects whatsoever. Takes it to the 32 for a gain of 7.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Raiders started with 3 wide receivers. The Denver Broncos are also starting with 3 wide receivers, trying to spread that defense out. And then you see, you can read the defense, and you get the secondary and linebackers spread out. Then you can find the running lanes in there, and that's what the Broncos are doing on those 2 plays to Portis.
Bill Callahan took the team to the Super Bowl last year in his first year as a head coach anywhere. 2nd down and 4 from the 33-yard line. Portis. Stopped at the 31-yard line. And for Jake Plummer, we saw him in preseason, but in Plummer's years in Arizona, he played in only 1 Monday night game. That was in 1999, and that game will only be remembered for being the end of Steve Young's career.
Hey, that was when Aeneas Williams hit Steve Young, and that was the last play Steve Young ever played. I tell you, Jake Plummer, and I've said this before, that this is a perfect place for him. That if he can't do it here, he's not going to do it anywhere.
3rd down and 3 now from the 32-yard line. Keep it on the ground, and there's Portis. Came into the game averaging 6.9 yards a carry, which is fabulous. Tackled by Woodson, and he starts tonight's game averaging 8 yards a carry. 4 carries, 32 yards already.
Well, you know, he's so special because he has that combination of good running moves and speed. You watch, it all starts up here in front. Everything that they do is zone block. They're going to man or zone the run side and then cut the backside. And Clinton Portis just uses his instincts. This isn't something you say, here, you run in this hole. He just starts, and whatever he feels, he makes those cuts.
At the 20 on 1st and 10. Again, it's Portis trying to spin his way past Barton, but can't. Eric Barton, the 5th-year outside linebacker from Maryland, with the stop.
Remember last week, Clinton Portis got hit in the sternum at the end of the first half, and he didn't even come out the second half, and he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to play. And then he said as the week went on, it got better and better. Said it took him 45 minutes after that hit before he could even stand up straight.
They put Mike Anderson in. He had a good second half. And, of course, they played the second half without Plummer. And you know that story. And we'll elaborate later with Mike Shanahan saying it was a concussion when it was really a first-degree separated shoulder, which is a bad sprain in effect. Rolling left, throwing, floating one into the arms of Shannon Sharp, who tries to get to the end zone and does. Touchdown. 18 yards, Plummer to Sharp.
But it's still all set up by Clinton Portis. They run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Then they're going to bootleg. Clinton Portis starts here. We're seeing it. Jake Plummer fakes. Everyone goes to the inside. The Raiders are coming on a blitz, and Shannon Sharp is wide open. But again, it starts by Clinton Portis. They say we have to stop him. All they're doing is running. All they're doing is running. Fake the run, bootleg, Shannon Sharp.
Jason Elam tacks on the extra point. So a perfect start for the Broncos. The Raiders go 3 and out. The Broncos march down the field. Plummer throws just one pass on that drive. That was it. Plummer to Sharp after Portis sets it up. 7-0 Denver. First night of autumn. Denver downtown. Not far from downtown. Mr. Sharp has just scored the 49th touchdown of his Bronco career. Remember, he was here, went to Baltimore, came back. He and Rod Smith are now the Bronco all-time leaders in that department in this ongoing battle, because Smith, of course, is active. And Ed McCaffrey is right in the picture as well. Touchdown catches 49 for Smith and Sharp.
You talk about veteran receivers. We sure have them in this game, not with just the ones you mentioned, and then you look at the other side with Jerry Brown. I mean Jerry Brown, Jerry Rice, Tim Brown. I mean, there's just so many great players in this series.
One guy the Raiders are missing, though, is Jerry Porter, the emerging star wide receiver, out after abdominal surgery and out for probably another month or more. Ronnie Jenkins, 2 yards into the end zone, out past the 20, runs into his own man, and then gets taken down at the 28. So the Raiders begin their second drive from that spot with 9:22 left in the opening period. In Denver, Broncos 7, Raiders nothing. They work on Bill Romanowski's neck on the Raiders sideline as the offense comes back out here, led by Rich Gannon. From the 28-yard line, Garner is the running back. Charlie Garner taken down right away by Ian Gold. Rich Gannon, 16th year, the only player in the league who went to Delaware. And here it was last year, 34 of 38, dinking and dunking and then going long when he had to against Ray Rhodes' defense. Ray is now in Seattle as the defensive coordinator. And there it was last year, the pass chart for Gannon.
He was 22 out of 26, 5 yards and under, 8 for 8 between 5 and 15, and 4 for 4 over 15 yards.
Now he throws off his back foot. A flag is thrown by the umpire. So guess what? It's as automatic as a Jason Elam extra point when the umpire throws an offensive holding.
And it's darn near as automatic as the start of Raider games. If you look at anything that has really stopped this offense over the years, it's been penalties. You know, I mean, here it's a holding. In Tennessee, they had a bunch of false starts, 17 penalties.
Holding offense number 74. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
That's Matt Stitchcomb. Center, he's been a guard and he's been a tackle. And then when they lost Barrett Robbins and Adam True became the center, they moved Stitchcomb to center. And he came to beat out Adam True.
There is Barrett Robbins, of course, of Super Bowl infamy. Hasn't played yet this year. Underwent treatment, of course, for depression and alcoholism. Also had knee surgery, so he's inactive for the 3rd game of the season. Second down and 20. The ball is at the 18-yard line after the penalty, and it's a short gain for Charlie Garner through the middle. And Bill Callahan, John, was telling us last night, the bugaboo for us has been 3rd down, and there's no wonder when they're always in 3rd and long.
And then what causes a 3rd and long is penalties and a combination of either incomplete passes or getting sacked or trying to run the ball and not making any yards. And I think you mentioned earlier how Jerry Porter not being here has really hurt him. If you look at this Raider offense, other than Charlie Garner, they don't have any speed. That's what it is. Then with no speed, then they don't threaten you deep, and then they can just play everything tight.
No speed and old age is a bad combination. Garner taken down by Ian Gold. So the Broncos come out on fire tonight, and the Raiders will kick again.
When you talk about speed, Ian Gold is one of those guys. You know, this Denver Bronco defense is built on the speed of the linebackers. They don't have a great front four, and their corners are still suspect, but their linebackers can move and get all over the field, and when they get there, make tackles.
Leckler, whose first punt was 63 and averaged 54 last week against Cincinnati, and kicking at 5,280 feet. And another monster, but a flag is thrown as O'Neal backs up at the 20. And the one-time Cal Bear brings it back out to the 32-yard line.
about these Denver Bronco uniforms, the old blue jerseys and blue pants?
Yeah, they voted on it. The players said, we like them. Mike Shanahan said, you guys do whatever you want to do.
And they came out in the pregame warm-up with blue jerseys and white pants. I don't know what the heck that does. I don't know exactly what that's all about.
Marketing and merchandising. Basically.
I think you just hit the old nail on the old head.
Sales. Cash registers.
The kicking team player number 87 ran out of bounds on his own. That's a 5-yard penalty. Re-kick, 4th down.
So they'll re-kick because Alvis Whitted ran out of bounds. And
here's the Denver Broncos before practice. You see they had the blue jerseys and the white pants on. So they wanted to think the Raiders, or make the Raiders think we're going to wear blue jerseys, we're going to wear white pants. And lo and behold, the game starts, and look what broke out.
John, it used to be orange. They were the Orange Crush. What are they, the Blue Crush now? And speaking of uniforms, last week they were supposed to have taken their dark uniforms to San Diego, but didn't. They brought the whites down. San Diego was forced to play in the darker colors, and the league is going to find the Broncos for not bringing the right stuff because they were trying to get an advantage because of the heat.
Yeah, Mike Shanahan is going to get fined for that one, but he didn't get fined for the fib that he told about Jake Plummer's injury.
Right, lying is okay, but when you do something to the fashion police, they will nab you. O'Neal brings this one back to the 45-yard line. 7:05 remaining in the opening period, which has been all Denver. Here comes Plummer. And the Broncos up 7-0. So after the penalty, they started at the 45, and Clinton Portis, big first drive, big first 18 games in his career. Take a look at that. Steve Van Buren, Hall of Famer. Paul Lowe, an original American Football Leaguer, and then Clinton Portis in terms of yards per carry, their first 18 games. Pretty good company.
Yeah, and I think he deserves to be in that company. And if you said if you could pick a running back now, who would you take? The way he's playing, I would take this guy because he has that great combination we talked about of being able to run and then has great speed.
1st and 10, and they dump it off to him, and he can barely get out of the backfield as Tyler Brayton makes the tackle. Some of the other notables, their first 18 games, the number of games that Portis has played. Take a look at that. Brown and Bo Jackson, Franco Harrison, Sayers and Barry Sanders, and all of those guys either with busts in the Hall of Fame, or Bo would have been there, a truncated career. Barry Sanders will be there. He's eligible next year. That's a list.
And the only thing that Clinton Portis doesn't do well is catch the ball, and they're trying to work on that more this year.
2nd and 10. That pass is a little high, intended for Sharp, who was covered by the strong safety. Derek Gibson will be 3rd down and 10.
And I think Jake Plummer just took his first shot there, and that was going to be the question mark. We know that he has a separated right shoulder. They say it's a 1-degree separation, and everyone said, Jake Plummer said it, and Mike Shanahan said it, that we're going to see how he gets through that first hit, and looked like he just took that first hit, and he got up.
Backing him up is Steve Berline, who was the only other quarterback. Last week they were down to 2, but in the ensuing week they have signed Danny Cannell as the number 3 guy. 3rd down and 10. And Plummer throws over the middle, and wide open is Ed McCaffrey, and his first catch of the night on 3rd and long is good for a first down, 14 yards.
Yeah, that's the second time they caught the Raiders in a blitz. The first time was that touchdown. Here they catch him again, and you're going to see Ed McCaffrey working on Shaw right here. He brings them in, holds him with that move to the outside, and then breaks to the inside.
1st and 10 now at the 41-yard line. And with Portis out, they give the ball to Mike Anderson, and he's tackled on the play by Eric Barton. Look at Portis. He came off slightly gimpy, had his helmet off on the sideline, and he's still out of the game. Let's go back to that last catch by Portis.
Well, remember the injury that he had coming in was a sternum injury, and I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like he hurt that.
But he's a little shaken, and so Anderson, who spelled him last week, is in the game, and they give the ball to Smith, and that is read perfectly by Trace Armstrong. And he was the one guy who was going to be between a loss in the backfield or maybe a 25-yard gain.
Yeah, anytime the ball goes away, the end man on the line of scrimmage away from it has to keep containment. And when you've played in the league for 15 years, you're going to do that. When they start one way, you're going to stay on the backside. You see Trace Armstrong there? They started to go away. He smelt that thing, he saw that thing, and he tackled that thing.
Armstrong, that game against the Broncos in December last year in Oakland, a big day for him. So again, it's 3rd and long, this time 3rd and 13. Plummer out of the gun, stepping up. Throws wide open is Ashley Lally for the touchdown. 44 yards. 2 3rd and long conversions, and Lally, who is an emerging star in the minds of everybody around the Broncos, shows you why they think he is.
Well, he's the speed, and if the Broncos are going to go deep, it's Ashley Lally. But watch what Jake Plummer does. This is what the Broncos are trying to get him to do. Step up in that pocket, and then go to the side, and then keep looking downfield. And when you look downfield, you're usually going to find Ashley Lally. He's the speed guy. He's going to be the deep guy. And look at this. This is what you call a drop coverage by the Raiders.
Elam tacks on the 14th point. Perfect beginning for the Denver Broncos as they try to keep their record perfect. 4:14 left in the period. Plummer with 2 TD passes. 14-0.
Are you ready for some football?
Next week, they reopen Soldier Field. We go to Chicago for the first time since 1996 on a Monday night. Packers and Bears. Sunday night, the undefeated Colts against the Saints. And if the Colts win that game, they then go to Tampa on the following Monday as Tony Dungy goes back to Florida. And won't that be something?
The Raiders sideline, they're talking about that last pass, and what it was Derek Gibson. He was a deep guy, and he jumped Rod Smith on the short pattern, and he let Lally get behind him.
Ronnie Jenkins takes a knee in the end zone, and the Raiders will try to get on track from the 20. Ashley Lally out of the University of Hawaii. Aloha, 14-0. Jerry Rice and the Raiders ready to take over at the 20-yard line. Broncos, 2 first-period touchdowns. Eastern and Pacific, 8 Central Time. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. The Raiders with Charlie Garner, and he stopped for no gain. And to this point in the game, the Broncos have gained 115 yards. The Raiders 1 yard.
You want to see what happened on that touchdown? We're going to see Derek Gibson is here now. He has deep, and he has this thing. And when they come on and in, Rod Smith, he jumps it here, and he lets Ashley Lally get behind him. You see as they come here, he has deep. Now right there, you see him jump that. Here's Lally, and he's going to run right by. And if you have deep half, you have to stay as deep as the deepest.
2nd and 10 from the 20-yard line. This time good protection, but good coverage by the secondary, and he just has to fling it into the Raider bench. You know, John, speaking of Plummer, back to Plummer for a second. In 6 years with the Cardinals, he never threw 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter, and now as a Bronco, he did it last week, and he's done it tonight.
Yeah, and again, I think it's this team. I think it's this system. I think it's this coaching staff. And in that first one, he had a heck of a lot of help from Clinton Portis.
There is Jake, 4 of 5 for 76 yards. 3rd down and 10 now for the Raiders from the 20, trying to avert a 3rd consecutive 3 and out, and they can't. So they've had the ball for 9 plays, no first downs. Leckler comes in to punt for a 3rd time. And Gannon walks off. Same kind of look that we saw in San Diego 7 months ago. And Garner is shaken.
What it is, they don't have a deep threat, and then they're just jumping all that short stuff. If they can get them in long yardage situations, there's just no place for Gannon to go.
Rod Smith is back to receive the kick. And this is a shorter Leckler boot. Fielded at the 36. And Smith, the elite receiver, takes it back to the 50-yard line. So again, the Broncos are set up in very good field position with 3:17 remaining in the opening quarter.
The Broncos came in here defensively, and they said that, we have to be aggressive and we have to attack the Raider offense. We have to attack their receivers, their running back. And I'll tell you, so far, they have really done that.
Quite in contrast to what we saw last November 11th. Now, the reason Smith was back is there is Deltha O'Neal, who gets the attention on the Denver sideline. And Clinton Portis, meanwhile, is now back in the game. From midfield on first down, Plummer stumbles, but gets up. And the Snake shows you why that's his nickname, and throws, and it's juggled and caught. That's a 1-yard loss. All of that for a 2nd and 11. Mike Anderson was the receiver.
And that's a great thing that Jake Plummer could do, and I think that's why Mike Shanahan, after living with Brian Griese and not being able to move, was so impressed with Jake Plummer, because we talked to him the other night and said, is he everything that you expected when you got him? He said he's more than I expected. He said he throws better, in the run, and he does a lot of things that I really didn't think he could do. But again, he's not an accurate guy, and he will let some fly on you once in a while.
As he did on opening day when he had 3 picks, but they still had more than enough for Cincinnati. And that's flung over the middle and caught on the run by Lilly. Inside the 10 and out of bounds, where it'll be first down and goal. What separated shoulder? Boy, did that have zip on it.
Well, they didn't get a rush on him. We talked about this Denver offensive line, the smallest in all of football. That they're good run blockers, not great pass protectors. But I'll tell you, once you get the run going, the pass protection is a lot easier. And look at the pass protection for Jake Plummer. Because he had such protection, he was able to step up and really put everything he had into that one to Lilly. Watch him step up. And that's the thing that you have to be able to do. When you get a push up the middle and you can't step up, it's a lot tougher to throw.
From the 7. The play clock goes all the way down and goes down so far they'll take a penalty here and make it first and goal from the 12.
Yeah, we keep talking about
offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Yeah, how that pass protection, it all worked again. I think a big part of it is still Clinton Portis, because that was play action pass, linebackers step up, and that's what opens the middle.
So how do you not respect the run when you got a guy like Portis in the backfield?
And they started out that way, run, thinking you're going to run the whole game, and then make him get up there and play tighter and tighter and react to everything he does.
From the 12, on first and goal. Portis. He gets the penalty yardage back. It's 2nd down and goal now.
One thing about Mike Shanahan, he's a great scripter. That you look at guys in first quarters and how they play. Had 8 rushes, 7 passes, scored 14 points. But I don't think there's anyone better at starting a game than a Mike Shanahan coached football offense.
He has been tremendously successful throughout his career in building early leads. 2nd down and goal. Bootleg. Plummer for the end zone. So he's thrown for 2 and run for 1. Whoa, baby, this looks like San Diego right now.
And I'll tell you another thing about Mike Shanahan. When he gets you down, he's going to put his foot on it. This isn't something he's going to say, let we have a good lead here, now let's go off. If he can score 80 points against the Raiders, he's going to do it. But again, if it's a play pass where he gets you into the lead, again, you fake the run and then you bootleg, and Plummer's wide open coming around the left side.
The game is 14 minutes, 6 seconds old. The Broncos have outgained the Raiders 170 yards to 1.
Both backs go to the right. Now look how that sucks the whole defense over to that side. Jake Plummer out here all by himself. Everyone went to the left. Jake Plummer goes to the right of the defense. Watch the whole defense. Everyone here, all those white jerseys, there's nothing in there. So Jake Plummer can just see that in, so there's one way he's going to get it there. He knew the minute that wasn't an option for a pass or anything. That was going to be a run all the way. Watch Bill Romanowski here. He's going to stop that run. He's going to get in there. He's going to keep containment. But he didn't see Jake Plummer until he was about 5 yards beyond him. Shanahan has that look in his eye, does he? I got him right where I want him.
Yeah, and there's no team he loves to have right where he wants him more than that team. Al Davis, who is the Raiders, in effect. There's no question about that through the years. Hired Shanahan in '88. It just was not a match made in heaven. And Davis, of course, has given so many young coaches their first opportunity, including, of course, the man standing next to me.
Right, and he did when I was a linebacker coach and only been in the league for 2 years, and I will forever appreciate that.
Ronnie Jenkins feels this one 7 yards deep. However, the Broncos may have been offside because there's a flag down back at the 30-yard line. And that would mean that somebody had most likely come across the line of scrimmage before the kick was in the air. That is the case, so Ronnie Jenkins might get an opportunity to run it back. We talked about Shanahan, and John mentioned scripting of the plays. Take a look at that in his career. 150 games, 130 here and 20 with the Raiders. He has led 76 times. He's trailed only 36 times, and 38 times at the end of the first period that has been tied. So take a look at this in terms of the perspective of it. Of all of the coaches in history, Mike Shanahan is the only one who has had the lead in the majority of his games at the end of the first quarter. Greasy Neal, Hall of Fame. Jeff Fisher, pretty good as well at Tennessee right now.
Yeah, and I bet that Bill Walsh would be that type of guy too. You know, there are some guys. I think that Don Shula was the first guy that I remember scripting the first plays, and Miami was always good in those days. And then Bill Walsh's teams and Mike Shanahan, I think, learned that. And if he's a master of anything, and maybe he's a master of a lot of things, he's a master of scripting.
Yeah, well, they call him the mastermind. He's such a good writer, we should get him to do a couple of pilots for the new season. There is the scriptmeister right there.
You know, and then you wonder what he has in mind for the next 15.
And Alex Gibbs, who used to be with the Raiders, is a line coach. He's a fabled line coach, and he's kind of like an in and out line coach these days. Lives in Phoenix and, you know, shows up for games and comes in and out because of former health issues. Looks nice and pink right now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he retired, and then now he's a consultant. As you say, he comes in and out. I heard that next year he's going to come back full time.
Kickoff now from the 25-yard line, fielded by Jenkins. And he gets buried by Nick Ferguson, reserve defensive back. And we talked about this looking like San Diego, and I don't mean against the Chargers. It looks like San Diego on January 26th against the Bucs, and there it was. The Raiders in their first Super Bowl since '83. Gannon threw those TD passes to Porter and Rice, but that was well after Tampa Bay had set the tone of the game. And only 19 yards on 11 carries. We talked about Robbins before. He was one of the big stories that day when he was inactivated for the game, and Adam True was the center. And now it's 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line as Gannon flings it to the outside for Rice, and that's incomplete. The coverage by Lenny Walls, who's the tallest cornerback in the league at 6'4" and change.
All right, on that one, Rich Gannon couldn't get everything on that one because he had a rusher right at his feet. I mean, that's the thing where you can't stand up, you know, and you can't step into that. Rich Gannon on this last one wasn't able to step on it. You see, here's Dorsett Davis, number 96. He gets the push right there. He takes Lincoln Kennedy right back into Rich Gannon.
Gannon on 2nd and 10 throws, and that'll be a 6-yard gain as they hit Zach Crockett. They have Crockett and Wheatley in the backfield on that set.
You know, because the Raiders don't threaten you deep anymore or have the speed where you worry about. Look how short the linebackers play. They're going to sit right in here and just wait for those short crosses and check that. See them sit, wait there right about 5 yards. And they're going to be able to knock those guys off or tackle them right there when they catch them. They have nothing to drive the linebackers deep or make the linebackers take deeper drops.
The Raiders have been playing football since 1960. This is only the 3rd time in the history of the franchise they have trailed by 21 points. End of 1. Perfect opening salvo for Denver as Monday Night Football resumes after this message in the word from our ABC stations. Start the 2nd quarter in Denver. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Lisa Guerrero. A perfect opening period for Mike Shanahan's club. And now the Raiders still seeking their initial 1st down. Begin the 2nd period with a 3rd down and 4 from the 36. And Gannon flings it, and it's caught by Jerry Rice. And Rice gets into Denver territory to the 46-yard line. So that's the best thing that's happened to the Raiders in 15+ minutes. 18-yard gain.
You know, and that's their first down. It was an interesting formation. It was an open backfield. They had 5 receivers. And you're going to see Jerry Rice just come across his zone here. And he got in that gap, and Rich Gannon hit him in that gap. And they're in the same offensive formation right now. 5 receivers, no running back.
1st down is Gannon checking, and then flings deep. And incomplete, and they had everybody covered, including Jerry Rice, who on that catch, John, he's caught passes in 260 consecutive games. That's more games than any other receiver in history has even played.
And you look at Jerry Rice, and you remember when he came in and how hard he works. I think that's the thing. You know, like Mike Shanahan was talking about him when he coached Jerry Rice, the thing that impressed him, not only how great a player he was, but he works harder than any other player, and that's why he's better than any other player.
2nd down and 10. From the 46, Gannon avoids the sack by Wilson and then throws it out of bounds. 3rd and long to come, and a flag against the Raiders. Holding.
I tell you, the Broncos blitzed on that one, and Al Wilson came through, and no one touched him.
Holding offense, number 74, 10-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
So that becomes, do you want a 3rd and 10 or a 2nd and 20, and they opt for the latter.
Here's Al Wilson right here, and you're going to see him. He just hits that cross, and no one touches him, and he's the one that made Gannon step that way, and then Rich Gannon just had to throw it away. The holding was on Matt Stinchcomb.
Tyrone Wheatley is the sole setback on 2nd down and 20. Ian Gold showing blitz. He backs off, but they come from the other side, and then Gannon throws, and the pass is caught at the 39. Beautiful catch by Doug Jolly, who gets blasted by Sam Brandon, but he's able to pick up 17 and sets up 3rd and short.
That's the type of thing that they have to get. They get Jolly down now behind those linebackers. You see earlier they were running everything to or in front of the linebackers. Linebackers are playing so shallow. Now you have to get down to that next level, that level between the linebackers and the secondary.
3rd and 3, and that's unusual. It's only the 2nd time this season the Raiders have had 3rd and 3 or less.
And then what happens?
Yeah, then if that's a false start, it's 3rd and 8.
And Mo Collins.
Number 79, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That's crazy. They get into 3rd and short and then take themselves out of it.
And that's what they want. You know, Bill Callahan was talking last night about staying in manageable downs, and that 3rd and short is one of those downs. Then they get there and they're all set to go, and their right guard jumps offside, and now they're 3rd and 8. They don't have a lot of plays to make 10 or 12 yards. I mean, that 3rd and 3 gives you a lot of plays. 3rd and 8 limits you by about half.
And they come up in a relatively tight formation for 3rd and long. Send Wheatley out of the backfield as they loosen it up. Four-man rush. Gannon slips to his left, going deep and too deep for Tim Brown. Delta O'Neal and Brandon back on the coverage. Fourth down.
But I think they finally realize that they have to stretch this defense. If you just look at the defense so far, the Denver Broncos, they look way too fast for the Oakland Raider offense. And then they were doing all that short stuff, and they were just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. At least now they're throwing something to try and stretch the defense a little and loosen it up.
Shane Leckler. Already a busy night for him. His fourth punt. Delta O'Neal, who couldn't run back the last punt, and that's a one-hopper. O'Neal was being worked on the sideline. He is back. And that lands inside the 5, and it is Alvis Whitted who gets down there and is able to save it from going into the end zone. It's a no. Originally, it looked as if they had not ruled a touchback, and then Nemers said, yes, it is, at the 20-yard line, just barely. Jake Plummer. We trust in Jake, said the Bronco organization. He threw 2 touchdown passes in the first quarter last week, then came out of the game with a separated shoulder. Burline picked up for him, and now 3 touchdowns here in the opener against Oakland, the opening quarter. 2 through the air and 1 by himself on the ground. From the 20. Portis turns to cut it back, slips out of the grasp of Travian Smith, and turns no gain into a short gain.
This guy is something we were talking about, you know, the moves that he has, and just on this play, it's kind of like a Barry Sanders type run. Remember how Barry Sanders would have a run and would only go 2 or 3 yards, and you'd say, geez, what a great run, a great 2 or 3 yard run. That's what that was with Clinton Portis. He had a move, he had another move, he went down, his hand went down, he had a spin. It was funny. I remember when he used to do that when he was in grammar school. 2nd and 6. And timeout taken here by Denver.
That's their first team timeout.
Apart from that, everything's been perfect for Denver. Regional action college football this Saturday, 3:30 Eastern and 12:30 Pacific, highlighted by Pitt against Texas A&M. Out west, Washington State against Oregon. Other regional action coming your way, college football this Saturday right here on ABC. After the timeout, 2nd down and 6 now at the 24-yard line for the Denver Broncos. Good play fake, buys time, hits McCaffrey, and rolls his way across the 30 for a first down. Travian Smith with the stop.
Yeah, the old thing, success breeds confidence, and Jake Plummer has sure been something tonight. I mean, they started with Clinton Portis' run, and then because of that, he could do this. Comes out on a bootleg, hits Shannon Sharp out there. Then we see him on this one. Pocket breaks down, he has to step up, finds Ashley will lead deep. And then he puts up, again, stepping up there, putting everything on that one, and then the bootleg run for the touchdown.
3 minutes into the period. Pitch back to Portis, flag. Tackled by Travian Smith.
The thing that Jake Plummer brings you, Al, I think, is you know what Clinton Portis, what a threat he is running the ball, but Jake Plummer becomes a pretty big threat. If you want to go with Clinton Portis one way, Jake Plummer could run the other way.
Holding, number 97. That's a 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
John Perella, another penalty. Plummer in an unusual situation now with Denver, because in Arizona, apart from the year they went to the playoffs, 98, almost in every game he played from behind. Take a look at that. For instance, last year, only 35 passes in 16 games with the Cardinals out in front, and 385 passes, more than 10 times as many with the Cardinals trailing. So he was always playing catch-up.
And I was talking to him about that the other day, and he said that's one thing he has to learn here is to play with a lead. I said, well, what's the difference? He said, if you're behind, he said, and there's a throw you think you can make, you have to throw it. He said, and you force some things. He said, when you're ahead, you don't have to make every throw, and you never have to force.
1st and 10. Checks off, and then McCaffrey goes down, and that's incomplete. With Plummer throwing so many passes when trailing last year. Look at that. Last year, while Plummer threw 7% of the time with his team ahead, Gannon 51%. And that, of course, that doesn't mean that 49% they were behind, because they were tied a lot of that time. And Gannon with the 2nd highest percentage mark in the league to Jay Fiedler last year.
Yeah, Gannon last year, the MVP in the league, and really had a great year and just a bad Super Bowl, and then really hasn't recovered from that.
2nd down and 10 from the 36. Plummer, look out, dumps it off, and it's incomplete. There's no flag for grounding because there was a receiver in the neighborhood, that neighborhood being Greeley.
You know what the Raiders have done? They've gone to a 3-man line. They got Travion Smith in there now trying to get more speed, and then they can blitz linebackers. Here you see Bill Romanowski. He's just coming, and he runs right over Clinton Portis. Now, that wasn't a good block by Clinton Portis, but I'll say this. Clinton Portis is a good blocker. He wasn't good there, but that is another part of his game that he does well.
3rd down and 10. Anderson comes in on 3rd down out of the shotgun. The Broncos have not trailed for a second this season. So Plummer with a 21-point lead, buying time, rolling, looking, throwing down the sideline, and then throwing it away.
That was a smart thing, because once you get to the sideline, obviously if you step out of bounds there, then that's where the ball is marked or spotted. If you throw it away, once you get outside that tackle box, you can throw it away. So if you throw it away, then it goes back to the original line of scrimmage.
For the first time tonight, Mike Ganora comes in to punt.
I think that 3-man line and a little more speed on defense has helped the Raiders.
Philip Buchanan, who was their #1 draft pick last year, the cornerback from Miami. Short end over end kick. Buchanan takes it from the 29 out to the 35, and the Raiders will try to regroup there with 11:05 remaining in the half. It's Portis tonight, 7 carries for 44 yards, and the Broncos up 21-7. New series premiering this Sunday right here on ABC. Now Oakland from the 35, 4 minutes into the 2nd quarter. Charlie Garner is back, and Barry Sims, who was flagged 3 times early in the game at Tennessee on opening day, moving here. This would be their 7th penalty.
False start offense, number 65. 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
You know, and part of that can be, you know, that you're playing away and it's tough to hear, and the toughest position to hear are the tackles, because the wide receivers, it's not important to them, but they can watch the ball. The guards are right next to the center, and of course the center has the ball.
The Raiders have gained 42 yards and have been penalized 50 yards from the 30-yard line. Gannon underneath to Rice with room to roam. And Jerry gets up near a 1st down before he's forced out of bounds by Kelly Herndon. He's a little shy, a yard shy.
You know, we looked at the first 15 plays and the scripting that Mike Shanahan had for Denver. And if you look at the same thing for the Raiders, you see that they ran 4 times, but they only got 9 yards. They passed 11 times. They were 4 for 10. They had a sack in there, and they didn't score any points.
John, in television terms, Shanahan goes to syndication for 20 years. And Callahan's script gets canceled after the 1st week. 2nd and 1 from the 44. Wheatley and Crockett in the backfield. Tyrone Wheatley, former Giant, New York Giant, out to the 50-yard line, gain of 6, and it's 1st down.
You see who they ran right behind, Langston Walker. It was funny. He kind of looked like he was in motion. Langston Walker is a backup tackle. and he comes in as a tight end in short yardage situations, but he started on the left side, and then he comes in motion. Now, you never see a big old 66-goal motion. Watch, here he is here. Then he gets over here, gets lined up, and then they're going to run right in behind him. If you have a big guy like that in there, that's what you use him for. And if you're going to use him for that, you may as well go to him.
Big guy running behind a big guy, and they flip it back, and it's all the Raiders can do with Charlie Garner covering it up at the 38-yard line.
You know, if there's anything that you don't need, and again, when you try a gadget play or a trick play and it doesn't work, it always looks stupid. But I don't know. I mean, the Raiders were just kind of getting going, and they get this. They bring the ball to Curry, and he's going to try and run an option of Charlie Garner, you know, and he flips a bad option. And you think, where the heck did that play come from? And then when you get the answer to where it came from, you say, why?
Why? And get rid of it. It looked like a special teams play. That's a run-back play. 2nd and 22. Gannon under pressure, avoids the sack, and then throws incomplete. The Broncos want a grounding call. Trevor Price put the heat on that time.
There's no intentional grounding. 3rd down.
Rich Gannon really looks frustrated, though, doesn't he? And I think that, again, they started to get a little momentum. I mean, they get a short yardage, they pick up a 1st down, and then they come with the trick option type of thing, and that took any momentum that maybe they were going to get and just took it away from them.
And now they put themselves in a 3rd and 22. They have to get to the Denver 40. And the Broncos with a 3-man line.
Look at how deep the linebackers are now.
3 rushing, 8 covering. And Gannon will take off, and there's no room to roam there because Bertrand Berry is right there. Otherwise, Gannon would have had about 25 yards, but Berry says, forget about it.
You know, and the biggest thing about this Denver Bronco defense and Raider offense, the Raider offense looks slow, the Denver Bronco defense looks fast. Here's what I was saying, look how deep the linebackers are. They're going to give him all this stuff because of the long yardage. Well, with just a 3-man rush, he has plenty of time, but that Denver Bronco speed I was talking about catches him and doesn't let him make that run.
Bertrand Berry, meanwhile, a guy who doesn't get a lot of publicity, already has 4 sacks. And Leckler bangs this one. Oh, just barely over the goal line. Almost a perfect kick, but into the end zone. 63 yards, 43 net. Broncos get it again, 8:42 to the half, 21-0. Entertainment world, and a lot of the rest of the world still reeling over the death of John Ritter. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line as Plummer looks downfield, thrown against the grain, incomplete. Everybody covered. Plummer was great expectations coming out of Arizona State, where he was a big star and then drafted by the Cardinals. And when you take a look at Jake Plummer and what he did at Arizona State, I remember this play in the '97 Rose Bowl, late in the game, 11-yard run on 3rd down, a minute 40 left. That gave ASU the lead. If that holds up, and it didn't, because Ohio State was able to march down the field with a dramatic drive of their own, you could make a case for that being the greatest play in college football history. As Portis gets taken down, and John, I know that's going to create a lot of argument, but if you think about it, Plummer goes in. That's why they call him the Snake. A marvelous play. It gives them the lead. They win the Rose Bowl. They would have finished undefeated, and they would have won the national championship.
Yeah, and then history would have been a lot different. I mean, then you would have been a lot happier at the time. You'd be a lot happier now. You wouldn't remember that play.
I don't want to think about that Ohio State drive, and then David Boston was such a big guy on that drive, and Joe Germain took him down, and the Buckeyes won it.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it something how, you know, the ball goes one way and something happens? I mean, we had, you know, I'm not even going to bring up the Pittsburgh Steelers thing where we do that and we have the game won and then they come back and do that to us and knock it reception.
Ifs and buts, candies and nuts and all that stuff, and Travian Smith breaks up the play. Flag.
But Jake Plummer, I remember when, you know, he was coming out of college.
Defense, offside, 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
You know, and Bill Walsh said, and if there is a quarterback guru as a coach, it's Bill Walsh. And I think Bill Walsh knows more about quarterbacks than anyone. And I remember when Jake Plummer came out, he said that he was going to be the next Joe Montana, that he was that type of quarterback. And then, of course, he goes to Arizona and he doesn't play that way. And then, you know, there's been question, you know, was Bill Walsh wrong or not?
So all those figures tilted toward the negative side, but then he comes here. There are his numbers tonight. 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. It's 3rd down and 6 now. After another penalty against the Raiders, that's their 8th. And Jake on the mark, and Rod Smith, if they give him forward progress, does have the first down. A lot of frustration, and another flag here as Smith got into the middle of it.
This is one of those point penalties. You know, it always happens when you have that kind of fracas there, and then they both point to the other guy. You know, it was him. No, it wasn't. It was him. I didn't do it.
Chris Cooper and Smith with pushy, shovey.
And then the coaches get in, they're pointing. Look at this, the umpire, he's going to break it up, and he got punched with a right hand. Whoa. I mean, that was a real right hand. That's Rod Smith. Watch number 8. I mean, he's going to punch the Raider, and he punches the umpire right in the face.
Personal foul against Denver.
They're going to have to throw Rod Smith out of the game if they call that for punching the umpire.
And then another flag just came down after the call was made, so there's some jawing going on down there, clearly.
Well, you know, when you talk about heated rivalries, these types of things happen in heated rivalries. Not punching an umpire, but these type of multiple fouls.
After the play was over, we have 2 dead ball fouls. We had a personal foul on number 80 of the offense, and we had unsportsmanlike conduct on number 50 of the defense for taking his helmet off. Those 2 penalties were offset at the dead ball spot. The result of the play was a first down.
So the Raiders get an initial break, and then Barton takes his helmet off. And Smith, fortunate in a sense not to get thrown out of the game, but clearly, I mean, it was he didn't mean to punch the and whoa, they are going to throw him out. Forget about inadvertent. Hit him or not, Smith is gone.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's one thing that they have to do. They have to protect the officials, and you can't touch an official on the field. Now, as you say, Rod Smith didn't mean that, but he meant to hit someone else.
Sure.
And when you're swinging and you hit an umpire, you have to leave.
He meant to hit Chris Cooper and winds up hitting the umpire, Andre Wash, and he's gone.
Yeah, he's going over there saying, I didn't mean it. And not only does he have to leave the game, but he has to leave the field. He can't stand on the sideline. When a player is kicked out of the game, he has to leave the field.
So Rod Smith, 1 catch tonight, 7 yards, ejected and dejected.
Yeah, but how about the other side? Eric Barton takes off his helmet. Watch it. There's the punch to the face. I mean, you have to go for that. Eric Barton takes his helmet off, and they get 15.
So we're back to 1st and 10 now. And then Anderson loses the ball, but covers up. And we'll get about a 2.5-yard gain on the play.
And when you see the strong safety up like that, you know, we always talk about 8 men in the box, bringing the strong safety down. When Derek Gibson is up and making a play in the backfield, they are playing run. They are playing 8 men up on 1st down.
2nd and 8. So Smith out of the game, which means more time since he, along with Lee and McCaffrey, were rotating. So Lee and McCaffrey will now see more action. Of course, you have Sharp as the tight end, and you can throw to the backs as well. 2nd down and 8. Plummer setting up the screen. Caught here by Reuben Drones, who scored a touchdown, the first touchdown of the game against San Diego, and the ex-Lion takes it out to the 42, and that'll move the chains. Portis, meanwhile, out of the game for the moment. Muscular pain, residual pain from the chest bruise last week, and we're working on his right arm. So for the moment, Clinton is on the bench.
Yeah, he said that last week he took a helmet right there in the sternum. And he said he doesn't know how it, but the helmet had to get up under the pads. Like I said earlier, he couldn't even stand up for 45 minutes.
1st and 10. They give it to Anderson, and let's go back and take a look at how Portis got hurt last week.
You're going to see, he said that reminds him that he has to get low, because the tackler came in and got his shoulder pad underneath Clinton Portis' shoulder pad. We were talking about that. I said, how do you stay low? And he goes, well, when I take a hit like I took last week, he said, that reminds me that I have to stay low. If not, some bad things happen to him.
And Anderson, who had a 1,000-yard season a couple of years ago, 2nd down and 7 from the 45. Jake taken off. Looks like the Rose Bowl. Inside the 20, out of bounds at the 15-yard line.
They're starting to love Jake Plummer here now, Al. They weren't sure about it before, but they know now.
It's Valentine's Day.
Right, they catch Eric Bart, number 50, is in a blitz, and he comes and he feels him coming, and then once he gets by there, the thing is wide open. And Jake Plummer has a great feel for it, but he also has speed. So when you have a healthy Clinton Portis able to run the ball, and if you want to go with him, Jake Plummer coming out the other way, this could be a very, very dangerous offense.
That's a 40-yard run. That's the longest of his career. Timeout Denver. 4:43 to the half. 21-0 Broncos. Well, the post-Elway era, it was Greasy's team, and Brian had his moments, and Farrat was here for a while as well. And now, and then of course Bubby Brister was here too. We forget about that. But now it's Plummer's team, and this is Plummer's night.
But you know, when you look at Greasy and you look at Farrat, they couldn't do the one thing that this guy could do, and that's run.
So after that 40-yard run and the timeout, Plummer to the air, guns it, 1st down. Eddie McCaffrey gets hit by Gibson, but it'll be 1st and goal at the 4.
They're just beating them every way you can. They're just too fast to him. They're too quick for him. And again, the protection is there, and when it's not, Jake Plummer can make the play. I mean, he can step up and get around. You see, McCaffrey starts in here, is on the outside, comes underneath, and it's a zone defense, and he just keeps working across. Don't gain depth. Stay between the linebackers and the secondary.
Anderson and Drones are the running backs. Anderson, the fullback, Drones in motion. 1st and goal from the 4. Mike Anderson gets necktied by Roderick Coleman in the middle. 2nd and goal.
One of the things we haven't mentioned is that Dana Stubblefield is in there, and that's why Coleman is in there, and that's one of the things that the Raiders are kind of missing in that inside run game. But having said that, Dana Stubblefield wouldn't have made a difference in this first half what the Denver Broncos have done to the Oakland Raiders. Roderick Coleman had to start, and he's a good player, but he usually comes in on passing downs, and he's in a rotation, and now he has to start and play the whole time, and you can see that they're starting to get a little worn down too. Of course, if they hang another touchdown on him here, then they're all going to get tired.
We've seen some big comebacks in this series, but 28-0 would be, I don't know what to tell you, very difficult. Let's check in with Lisa Guerrero. Lisa.
Thanks, Al. All right, you guys were talking about the Broncos' blue pants earlier in the game. They haven't worn blue pants since the preseason of 1997. At the time, they took a team vote as to whether or not to wear those pants in the regular season. Shannon Sharp told me the other day that vote was 42-1. The one dissenting vote was John Elway's. Well, fast forward to 2003, Shannon said they took another vote and they decided unanimously wear the blue pants. Guess what? They may never take them off.
Yeah, not after this performance. And it's so funny. I mean, we think about the Broncos in those old uniforms, and when they went to to this new logo. I think they called it a cyber horse. I mean, everybody was shocked, but all of a sudden you win back-to-back Super Bowls and people fall in love with that fashion.
Right. Anything you think is ugly until it wins, and then when it wins, it becomes beautiful. Those are the best-looking uniforms I've ever seen.
Eye of the beholder. Second and goal. 10th play of the drive. Anderson takes it down inside the 2.
You know what you have to expect now? It seems like every time the Broncos get down here, their big play is a Jake Plummer bootleg. And I would anticipate if it wasn't that play, that this next play would be a bootleg. Because that, you know, and the last time that he ran the bootleg for a touchdown, there was no option. He just faked and he just ran out to the left. I think that if he did it again, it would probably be an option with a pass.
Or a tackle eligible. They hit Cooper Carlisle last week for a touchdown pass. There he is.
He's in there now.
Yep.
Timeout, Oakland. That's their first team.
Oakland wants to be sure they've got him accounted for. I mean, these days everybody scores. Warren Sapp, Cooper Carlisle. Recapping the game here, 2:38. I mean, it's all Denver to this point from the outset. Oakland went 3 and out, and then it was Shannon Sharp on a 3rd down play, 18 yards. And then Plummer here hits Ashley Lally, blown coverage, 14-0. And then Jake does it himself, all in the first quarter. All in the first 14 minutes and 6 seconds. 21 zip, and inside the 2 now.
And that last play that we just saw there is the one that I would expect now. Because he is such a threat with that ball, you know, that he can, again, you know, we talked about the running backs and the running game. You have to stop that. Clinton Portis isn't in there, so that isn't going to have the same effect. But when Jake Plummer runs with the ball, he not only runs with, you know, knowing where he is, but runs with great speed.
Anderson is the tailback. Fake. Here goes Plummer looking to run, but instead he's going to have to throw it away. That was Trace Armstrong putting the pressure on and breaking the play up.
And that's the second time that Trace Armstrong did that. They tried to reverse on him, and he was out there. Now they tried to bootleg. Remember, the other successful bootlegs were to the right. This one is to the left defensively. And here he is right here. And when you start away, Trace Armstrong isn't going to go. He's looking for bootleg. So he sees both backs away. He comes up the field and contains bootleg.
Jason Elam, chip shot here. 20-yard attempt. Micah Moore does the holding. And it's 24-0 Denver. And Monday Night Football from Colorado being brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 38. Snickers, home of the weekly Hungriest Player Award. Buick, the spirit of American style. And Coors Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Cold down easy. You know, John, I'm thinking about Elam, and he just takes that chip shot field goal. He holds the record along with Tom Dempsey, a 63-yard field goal, which leads us to last week's game. I mean, that fabulous game, the Giants in Dallas. In the history of the league, the past 50 years, the Giants were only the second team to lose a game in which they had taken a lead with as little as 11 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The only other game in the past half century was the game in which Tom Dempsey won it for New Orleans against Detroit. Detroit had taken the lead with 11 seconds left. New Orleans got it into position for Dempsey's kick, and Dempsey won it.
Yeah, but there was no squib kick that went out of bounds to put the ball on the 40-yard line before that.
No old squib kick.
That was the thing. When you directional kick the squib kick to the corner, trouble is right around the corner.
Ronnie Jenkins ready to run back the kickoff. Elam, 11th year, drafted him 3rd in 93. Career-long Bronco. Played his college football at the University of Hawaii, and that one is about 8 yards deep in the end zone. Our 7 days to Monday night feature is part of our halftime tonight. And Shannon Sharp is the subject.
After practice, I get massages because I'm sore.
Shannon always has a couple of problems. His ankle is off, usually. This should be right here like this. And this ankle bone is higher than the other one.
How many guys do you think have played 14 years in the NFL and don't have something that's off? You got to have your ankle off, your knee has to be off, your shoulder has to be off.
About 14 days.
I mean, if that's all you have is your ankles off, you got a pretty good career.
From the 20. Gannon throws, and that's caught along the sideline by the tight end Jolly, and he picks up a first down.
You know, we were talking to Rich Gannon last night. He was saying the Super Bowl, and you know, at halftime, he said just before halftime he looked up and he said he knew the score was bad. He said, but the thing that bothered him was that he only had 3 first downs.
There it is.
And then you look tonight, the first half, they've only had 3 first downs.
Gannon slings it. That's caught by Jolly again up to the 40. So we've come to the 2-minute warning, and the Raiders trying to get anything on the board. All Denver in Denver. Thunder's exhausted. 24-0. Lexus halftime show coming up. Shannon Sharp, 7 days to Monday night. John and I look forward to next week's Packers-Bears matchup as they reopen Soldier Field in Chicago next week on Monday Night Football. 2nd and 4 at the 2-minute warning. Ball at the 41. And Jolly gets taken down by Delta O'Neal.
You know, Larry Coyer is the defensive coordinator of this team and the Denver Broncos, and he was saying that last year when the Raiders came in here, he said they just embarrassed him. He said because we didn't compete. He said I'll guarantee. He said I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but I'll tell you we're going to compete.
3rd and a short 3. Under pressure, down he goes. A rolling sack by Reggie Hayward.
Well, now they have him when they want him, and they can do anything that they want. And we see him blitzing him. We see him with a 4-man line, always putting pressure. And here it's going to be a stunt. And you can just see where the linemen cross. Here we start right here. And you see he starts in the inside and then comes around to the outside. But the big thing that impresses me again with this Denver Bronco defense is their speed tonight.
4th and 12 as Butler punts. O'Neal fields at the 14. Brings it back to the 30. Gannon is unbelievably honest and frank. Lisa Guerrero sat down with him last night. Listen to what Rich had to say.
I'm over it. I mean, it's something that you have to live with the rest of your life. Anytime you look at the highlights from that particular Super Bowl, but it's, as I said a long time ago, it could define me professionally, but it'll never define me personally and who I am, and that's really how I look at that whole game.
Lisa asked him about the Super Bowl. I think he's being too hard on himself. I don't think that will define him.
No, it won't. But it's something that he's lived with because he's such a competitor, and he's so serious about everything he does and hard work, and it's hard just to get something like that out of your system.
Quarterback draw. 3-yard gain to the 34. Take a look at this. The greatest comebacks in the history of Monday Night Football. Raiders did it against the Chargers. They were down 24 points in 82. The Raiders against the Broncos. You know what the interesting thing is about this game? Shanahan was coaching the Raiders and came from behind, and they won in overtime. Jets Dolphins in that classic game in 2000, and then Raiders against the Saints. So the Raiders have been involved in 3 of the 4 biggest comebacks in Monday Night history. And for Mike Shanahan, this is like eating a 5-course gourmet meal against his old team. And he's only on course number 2.5. Halftime. 24-0. Back after this message from the NFL and a word from our ABC stations.